Did you let your mom buy anything for you at the mall?
She did.
I did technically, yes.
Mom, I want this hair tie and this dress.
Yes. It's been fun.
This episode is made possible by our therapy partners, Dirty B and Pickett. From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. And now, broadcasting from the Churn, that's Jim, that's Whitney, I'm Nick. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
And I'm Whitney's mom. Pew, pew, New Mexico. Whitney's mom is really here. This is the part of the show that the regular audience can hear. So all that weird, profane stuff we did, that's only for the paying people. These folks get the G-rated show.
Oh,
right. So
okay.
if you could clean up your filthy mouth,
I sure will.
We'd appreciate it. Okay?
I will.
When did you learn that she was on a podcast?
Oh, yeah,
Was
that's
it
a
on the
really
way to
good
the studio
question.
And have you
tonight?
ever heard it before?
Yeah.
It was
That's
just
so
yesterday.
Yesterday?
I love that you've been on the show for a year. Never sent it to your mom.
To be fair, when I went to visit her a few months ago, I mentioned the podcast. She's like, "You're on a podcast?" I'm like, "Yeah." I
What's
was like,
a podcast?
Let me send it to you. Let me find a
this
good
is
episode
great.
to send. And then I never did.
No.
And so
Because you couldn't find a
There's
good
no
episode.
good episode.
this is the first episode
Yeah.
she's ever heard.
Whitney,
So-
you do not need to explain any of that to me. I 100% get it. In fact, I would have covered for you. If I was like at that Summerlin Mall and you were like, "Oh my God, Jim, this is my mom," and I've been like, "Hi, I'm just a fellow therapist." And
I don't know her.
I would just assume you don't want her to know, and I would have just covered for you.
Jim
the
would have
whole
been like,
time.
no, we're not on a podcast together. Your
Yeah.
daughter and I are having
Yeah.
an affair.
Yeah, that's yeah. Whitney, why
It's
is
much
that?
better than sharing a podcast.
Yeah, why is that man wearing a shirt with your face on it that says "Pew Pew Texas"?
Oh, that's right. Is Whitney showing you the merchandise that she's
Whitney
on?
has fans.
No.
Yes, Whitney has
I know.
international fans.
I need to show it to you.
We had a
When
like
we
a
get
big
home.
convention a couple months ago, and there were fans that showed up wearing shirts of Whitney to celebrate the fact that they love her.
It was so
there was
sweet.
a costume contest. People dressed up like Whitney's ducks.
Oh,
And
So
just
the ducks
walked
do
around
exist.
as the
They
ducks.
just may
Yeah.
not be real.
Yeah, no. So Whitney has been hiding a whole secret life from you.
She has.
She's kind of famous.
No,
yeah,
no.
I consider us what F-list celebrities.
Ooh.
Z.
Did we make
X?
the F list?
I think we're.
Oh.
Yeah, there it is. There's the Pew Pew Texas. Yep.
There you go.
That's
So
me.
fans of the show have their own little Whitney art going on. Yep.
I'll get you a shirt, Mom.
Yeah, I think we can get her a
There you go.
shirt.
I'll get you
Oh
one.
yeah, we got to get her merch. That's
Yeah.
that's a given.
My daughter's famous.
She
I know.
is.
How
Yeah.
does it feel?
Yeah, big deal.
She's
Yeah.
finally made it.
Yeah, you lived up to all the things I thought you were capable of.
I'm not.
And then some.
I'm not a dentist, but is
Yeah.
this the next best thing?
No, still
No,
prefer
yeah,
dentist.
it's still dentist, still the money. Yeah,
the money, yeah,
been
that's
pretty
true.
great. You know. Well, now that you are officially aware of the show, we answer questions that people write in, and we try to give them bad advice that some
Okay.
of them, seem to think we're offering serious advice.
We
but
accidentally give good advice every so often.
every so often.
but it is purely by
Before we
accident.
move on to questions, I do have one last mom question. For all of you who want to hear all the questions, patreon.com/therapy, you can hear us take listener questions from our Discord.
You
and
can
ask
find
them
out how
directly.
Whitney got her name.
That was a big reveal.
That
I was
was a big
surprised.
reveal for me.
And you know what? I was 100% satisfied with that answer.
Yeah.
Honestly,
good answer.
honestly,
Yeah.
it's
Good
times
answer.
like this I wish we were on Twitch or some sort
yes.
of video streaming,
Yes.
so we could see how red
Yes.
Whitney's face
Oh,
got.
it's glorious. Yeah, the awkward squirming every question of like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh
Is it
God.
hot in here? Very sweaty. Very sweaty.
So my last mom question, is there a special meal that whenever you visit, you have to make for Whitney, or whenever she visits you, it's like, Mommy, can you make me that thing I like? What's Whitney's special meal?
McDonald's? I was going to say Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, honey, I'll get that for you.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Remember, she said she didn't teach me how to cook?
That's right.
We're not wrong.
Mom, can you make me that thing, the one that you made for, peanut butter? Yeah, it's just
a lot of that.
peanut butter on a cracker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember when I said Peter was cooking for the
That's
last 2
right.
days?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Checks out.
The meat apocalypse that Peter is dealing with.
Yep.
Well, fun times. We've got some great questions for this episode of the show. And
How do you feel
fun
about
special
Peter being
guest.
referred to as a meat apocalypse?
Yeah. We also have a T-shirt that says that.
I mean, we will.
We will. That's coming.
That's pretty easy.
We'll have that by the end of the hour. We'll get that.
That's an appropriate name.
Yeah.
Yeah. The man can sling the
Pete
meat.
the meat.
Oh, there it is. Oh, shit. Yes. Pete
Wow.
the Meatpocalypse. Oh, there's going to be...
Everybody feel free to just refer to Peter as meat from
I'm
now
not,
on.
and
my God.
I'm not
Meter.
even going to tell him. Just whenever, the merch pops up, I'll be like,
Yeah.
surprise.
Got you a shirt.
Yeah.
You're
You
gonna
guys
love
talk
it.
about me on the show?
No.
Yeah, he's probably like, wait, you're on a podcast?
Yeah, he didn't know either.
This
No.
whole thing has been one of the best kept secrets in history.
He was just hoping it was just an affair with Jim.
Yeah. Just please tell me.
was the good
Please
news.
tell me you were just really drunk. You're not actually recording shit, are you? For a year? Good Lord. Think of the ducks. All right, we've got some great questions coming in on this episode. The first one to lead off is doubting my decision to go no contact with Dad from Tom. Hey, Pod Therapy crew. I'm a 33-year-old male and I have no relationship with my biological father. I began our estrangement by going no contact with him in about 2010 or 2011 when he abandoned my mom and brothers to go live 7 hours away. From that time until 2016, he showed nothing to suggest that he was ready or capable of having an adult relationship with me. But perhaps in a moment of weakness, I reached out to him in 2016 to see if we could rekindle the relationship. In my letter to him, though, I said there were going to be some serious boundaries in place, and he said he would respect them. Feeling encouraged, I drove the 7 hours to go see him for a weekend, and it went fine. He seemed happy enough to see me for the first time in 6 years, but I wasn't convinced he was committed to change or really all that interested in stepping up to be the father I needed him to be. But I tried as much as I could to give him the benefit of the doubt. That was until 2017, when he entirely regressed and broke all boundaries as if they weren't there in the first place. My mom's mom died that year, and a few months later I was texting my dad, and he asked me to call his mother, who I'd never been too close with. I told him I wasn't entirely comfortable with that, and his response was, "You would call your mom's mom, this is no different." Clearly, that struck a chord. In that moment, I said, "Fuck this," and blocked him on the spot. I haven't spoken to him since. In the years since then, he has been trying incessantly to get in touch with me. I'm talking about calling my work looking for me, emailing my work literally every job that I've had since 2017. I guess he Googles me periodically. Looking for me, calling my grad school looking for me, you get the idea. It's gotten to the point where I look over my shoulder every now and again, and I have paranoid thoughts that anything I do on the internet will be found and used by him to get a better understanding of where I am. I feel stalked. Now it's 2024 and I just got married. Yay! As luck would have it, my wife's mom isn't doing well, and her visible mortality is making me doubt my no-contact stance with my dad. I know he's loony, but I can't help but feeling sad that he's likely all alone in this life. None of his kids talk to him, and he's just out there, wasting away. I don't think at the end of the day I want to reach out to him, but I'm scared that I'll find out one day that he's died, and regret not having at least said goodbye. At the end of the day, I'm mourning not having a relationship with my dad, and it's tearing at me knowing that I can, technically, if he's still alive. It leaves me with a bit of a hole in my heart, no matter how much pain he's caused me. Even though he sucks, I just want a parent, and I'm embarrassed to admit that because of how objectively awful he's been to me and my family. Any thoughts on dealing with the remorse around permanent no contact with a shitty dad? All thoughts other than Jim's are welcome. Love, Tom. Fuck you, Tom. So, Whitney, you don't call your mom very often. Let's talk about...
Sometimes she goes months without speaking to her mom.
Months, years. She has to fly all the way out here to make sure you're alive.
Had to fly to Costa Rica.
Yeah, exactly.
You serve cocaine
Be
duck.
disappointed.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving meal.
Not easy. No contact. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of a hot topic
Yeah.
in social media realms right now, the no
Yes.
contact with parents, and parents having a difficult time accepting that and understanding why adult children go no contact with them.
Yeah.
I think the feelings of confusion are really valid, because what most of those parents don't understand is it is still hurtful, even on the kid when they go no contact. I think they think, oh, my kid's just being an asshole, or
I'm hurting and they're not.
I'm hurting and they're not. They're just like, haha, yay, I don't have to spend time with you. But it actually is hurtful for the child too.
I mean, let's pause there for just a second, though, because I mean, there's something to that. I don't know if the truth isn't the right word, but I mean, there is something to that. The feeling of I have had communication cut off with me. Like the other person is the one taking the action, and they're ignoring the actions that they took that kind of precipitated the whole thing.
Sure, I'm on trial and they're never on trial.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, that is a weird that's a weird little kind of crossroad thing there that happens. I would bet
there's mutual feelings about it for sure.
Yeah.
But Whitney, to your point, it is a very millennial thing to like block the parent. That is a thing, and I'm seeing it all the time on Facebook and stuff, where I'll see like people that I grew up with, and they'll post something like, "Dear everybody that follows my account, do not respond to DMs from this person. That is my parent. They are no contact. If they ask you for pictures of my children or whatever, like you don't understand." And I'm like, damn, like there's a lot of this. It is a really, really common thing, and it's a big decision to make.
Yeah, it is.
Do you think people make it more readily now than they have in the past? Is now?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think
you think
so.
things are different now?
I think so. I think it's
Not just
because,
how it's being reported.
Oh, I mean, that could be. Maybe we're just more aware of it now. But
Yeah.
I do get the sense that like younger generations today, like it's more acceptable to just kind of like draw those boundaries and just be kind of in the same way that like divorce has changed.
Okay.
Like back, 50 years ago, well, no one would ever get divorced.
Right.
You no matter what happens, you have to do that. And then it kind of
I
became
remember the kid in elementary school whose parents were divorced.
Like the one.
Yeah, I remember the kid whose
Yeah.
parents were divorced.
Yeah. But then it just became more socially acceptable, and it was more like, okay, well, no, the philosophy changed. Like, well, there's no reason I have to be in an unhappy marriage.
Yeah.
Right.
Or stick it out.
And so there's no point to doing that. And so it kind of changed.
That's
I
a
think
good
it's kind of the same
comparison.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. To like,
There's
adult-
a priority of health now. And I think that's one of
Sure.
the things, like even that emotional health
Well,
of
it's
marriage.
the same way. It's also, you see the same thing in employment
Yeah.
as well. Like
choose-
I think younger generations take a stronger stance on like my mental and emotional health and my
Right.
job home life separation.
Right.
Whereas back in the day, I don't think that was really the case.
Another piece to this too of like, is it more common now to block parents and stuff? Back in the day, I remember we'd hear from my grandma like once a week. Like we'd all go next to the rotary dial phone and like talk to grandma for an hour.
Oh my gosh.
And we'd like spend a long distance hour, plan or whatever to talk. Like that, your parents weren't that much in your life if you didn't live right next to them. And I don't think it was like this all the time thing. So nowadays though, where people are like on the internet and seeing your whole life and commenting on things and have this constant ability to check on you, maybe it's more common to be like, look, you're intrusive in my life sometimes.
Yeah,
and
you
I
don't
want
have
around.
I didn't think about that, but you don't have the option of privacy. Whereas, like, let's say in the 90s and before, like when internet didn't exist, if
Yeah.
you didn't want to see a parent or talk to them that often, you just didn't answer the phone or
didn't answer
didn't
the phone.
invite them over. Like,
Yeah.
and then you just didn't see them.
Right. Or you
I don't
just
know.
cook them a terrible meal for Thanksgiving and they just give up.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that because she didn't give up.
Take the hint, Ma.
She didn't give up on me.
Well, she may after tonight.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Now
I knew-
that she knows the horrible
Mom,
truth.
go wait in the car. Go wait in the car.
The 120-degree car? That's homicide. You
crack.
monster.
Crack the windows.
She
Crack
loves
the
me.
windows. She's fine, guys.
I cracked the windows.
Cracked
The
the
sun went
windows.
down.
She's in the shade. She's got her favorite popsicle. She's good.
But like, I don't know. So, Mom, for you, what did you ever see anything like that? Like people just no contact with a parent or a
I
sibling?
didn't know any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
No.
wasn't really a thing before. What if you didn't like the person or just somebody didn't respect your boundaries? What did people
You just
How'd
got your
you deal with
boundaries
that?
disrespected. That's just what
You-
happened.
Get your big brother.
She did have a big brother, so that checks out. Yeah.
Yeah, it is more common these days, though, and I've talked to a lot of families. Well, I've been a therapist to the kind of grandparent in this scenario, the person who's being cut off, and who is saying like, "This is
I wanna see my
ridiculous. I want to see
grandchild."
my grandchildren. I want to see. I love my son. I'm going to die one day. What the hell? Like, you know, and they take umbrage with the issues they're being accused of, where it's like, I wasn't excited enough whenever he visited me. What the hell? Like, I don't know how to meet what he's needing. Like, he needs to work on that in therapy or whatever. Like, this sucks that, like, I died to him because I can't read his mind. And like, I've been on that side of the line. And it's ideally, in a perfect world, writer, if you're in a place where you're saying, look, I'm questioning this decision as a permanent one, it's no longer feeling authentically satisfying to me, and I feel like I'm protecting myself from somebody that maybe I don't need to be protected against right now, I would encourage you to consider, if it's possible, if your father can use Zoom, you know, like doing some family therapy on this. I mean, opening up a conversation sometimes is at least a step in the right direction, where some of this stuff can be discussed, or you can at least create like an agreement of what kind of contact we're allowed to have. But I don't know, man. I mean, if you take this all the way to the grave, I don't know. It sounds like the writer's going to regret it.
Well, yeah, it sounds like the writer's already regretting it.
Right.
You know, and so I guess my feedback would be, you probably had good reason for doing this. I don't think we have kind of the whole full story here as to everything that led up to you putting this boundary in place or this distance.
Sure.
But here's something that kind of caught my attention. Just doing a little bit of math, which we all know is not my strong suit.
I consider you a strong mathematic.
We'll be the judge of that.
Wow.
Go on.
Yeah.
That surprises me.
Better than me.
And it surprises everyone who knows me.
Yeah. No, you tower over me in math. Like, I look up to you. You're Shaq.
Oh, that scares me. that should scare
It's
everybody.
scaring me too.
Yeah.
Who's in charge
Okay.
of the finances?
Yeah, he's the treasurer, thank
Okay,
God.
okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like this all went down about 14 years ago.
Okay.
Writer's 33.
Yeah.
That makes the writer 19.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a big difference between your relationship with your father at 19 and your relationship with your father at 33.
Good point.
Because one of the things that the writer says is something about him stepping up to be the father I needed him to be.
Yeah.
Well, writer, think about this and just kind of give some thought to, do you want him to be the father you needed him to be back then? Because if so, that's an unfair expectation. He's not going to be.
Right.
He's not going to be that father. You need to think about, what does a father-son relationship look like when you're 33?
Great point.
And not when you're 19.
Yeah.
Because I think if you create that expectation, you're only going to be disappointed. And I think maybe that has something to do with everything that's still going on, is you still have maybe this expectation of what this should look like, as opposed to a true adult father-son relationship.
Yeah, good point. I mean, I think you just nailed it. I mean, not only is your math impeccable,
Thank you.
but I think your analysis is correct.
Don't double check me on
Yeah,
that.
no.
Writers.
There will be no checking. No. I don't even remember what you said. Yeah, I couldn't possibly add those numbers or subtract whatever's called for. I don't know how to do it. No, but like, I think you make a really good point, because the emotional capacity somebody had that you needed from them, but they lacked, right, at 19, that gap is very, very wide, it sounds like. And whenever you gave little extra shots and tried these little check-ins, Dad very quickly tripped over the situation, had unreasonable requests of you, was insensitive of what was going on in your life. It was enough that you were like, man, I don't need this in my life right now. But you're right, Nick, because what you need from your parent when you're in your 30s is a much less nurturing spot. I mean, you might just want the legacy of their wisdom, or just some connection to them at all. Or even you might even want the end of the resentment, the ability to, you know, seek and provide forgiveness to each other and just end well. That itself could be a really satisfying thing that you might need in your 30s. Yes, Mama.
Don't you think that there has to be a point where you accept your parent for who they are?
That's a strong point.
And you just have to accept them with their faults.
Yeah.
I was going to say that too, because I think that's another thing that has changed over the years. Is like, I remember, like, I think when you're a kid and there's like somebody in the family that's an asshole, it's just like, yeah, they're an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
No,
like
we
them.
still
That's
we'll
Uncle
still hang out on the
so-and-so.
4th
He's
of
an
July.
asshole.
We'll
Yeah.
still
They're
Christmas-
invited to the barbecue. Yeah.
He's just an asshole.
Yeah. Somebody will cuss him out,
It's like-
and that'll be the end of it. Yeah, that's right.
And I think that has changed to it's like, oh no,
Yes.
you're gone.
No, there's a trigger happy thing in the culture right now. And a lot of times I see it masked in language like boundaries. And people are like hyper zealous, and they're weaponizing mental health language a lot of times and saying like, no, my therapist told me to cut you off. And like, I've had that happen to me, where I've been talking to somebody and they've been like, yeah, my spouse said that their therapist told me that I have to cut off like my father and things like that. And I'm like, who's the therapist? I know most of them in town.
Yeah.
Not many of them have the balls to tell you what you're
Yeah.
supposed to do with your entire family
Tell
tree.
your spouse to cut off your father.
Yeah. That doesn't sound, it's like, well, they told me I have to do that for boundaries and for my own mental health. And it's like, I don't know that many of us would tell you, don't adapt to the world around you, just shut it all away.
And see, this is the thing that like kind of frustrates me, is because we lose nuance with this.
Yes.
Are there examples where we need to be more proactive with boundaries and actually cut people off? Absolutely.
Those exist.
Yeah. And then there are some that we can still have relationships with and just adjust our expectations.
Right.
Both are okay, and it's a case-by-case basis. So it's really hard to say, no, if someone is if someone is just being a jerk, cut them out, they're done.
Right.
I think that is not appropriate. I also think that having no boundaries whatsoever and just allowing everybody in your life, that's also inappropriate.
There's a gradient in the middle
yes,
there
there's this
between
whole-
you don't exist and you have full access
Yeah.
to me. You can have a limited access to me, or like, yeah, you know what? I hang out with you sometimes. I only call you sometimes. Like, I'm sure there's times whenever, Whitney's talking to her mom and mom's like, why don't you ever call me? And she's like, I don't like you that much. I'm like, okay, I'll try harder. That's it. I guess, okay. Thanks for not cutting me off though. There's room for this. But I think she makes a good point.
There is something that I can't believe that you didn't touch on just now, and that is being an adult.
Oh.
So you have kind of like the stages of being an adult. You have that stage where it's like, oh, I've just graduated college, or in that neighborhood. So you're like 20, 21, 22 years old, somewhere in that neighborhood. Kind of the next spot is kind of your early 30s. Like, you've been out in the world now for about a decade. You've got your feet under you, hopefully. Like you've been working, you've been establishing a career, you've been doing all that stuff. Holy shit, if I had to be held to things that I decided when I was 19, when I'm 33.
Yeah, good point.
Like, man, like you made a decision when you were 19 years old.
yeah.
And if that was the right decision or not, it kind of doesn't matter anymore, because that was more than a decade ago. You're not the person you were when you were 19. I bet your dad isn't the person that he was when you were 19 either.
Right.
He certainly wasn't the person that he was when you were a child. Like, he's probably changed as well. Look at it. Try hard to look at it through a new set of eyes.
Yeah.
Try really hard to look at that and go like, I don't want to be tied by a decision that I made when I was 19. I don't know if you made that decision. I don't know if it was a well thought out decision. I don't know if it was a spur of the moment thing. But whatever it was, you were 19 fucking years old.
Yeah.
Like, the decisions I made when I was 19 are not the same decisions I would make today.
Whitney was stealing cars at 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change is possible.
Profesh.
She was the getaway driver.
Also, I don't want to forget that they did try to reconnect in their
That's
like
true.
mid to late
Yeah.
20s.
Yeah.
There was a
I
try.
do think to just still continue on what like Jim and Jacob were saying, in that you do have stages of adulthood that you go through, and it sounds like you are in this new stage and you're feeling a little bit of like needing some closure around that again.
Right.
So I definitely
And probably some jealousy, if lacking a better word, for people who have relationships with their parents and that kind of thing. Like,
Absolutely.
you're around people that have this,
absolutely,
and
I
you're
think
worried that you're
that's-
going to miss out on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say too, finding a way to revisit with appropriate boundaries, use of this term, where maybe like if you decide to reach out to him, maybe create a separate email address or whatever you feel
Right.
like you need to do to protect your space and your peace. If he does have this history of kind of going over the top and reaching out to you, like create a separate email address, reach out, maybe meet up at like a public, coffee shop, just
Right.
something that you feel like you are in a little bit of control of that environment. If you're unsure of how he'll react and respond, if you do decide to reach out, if you decide not to, there is a lot of grief that can come.
Yeah.
It is like stages of grief. It's
Yeah.
grieving somebody who's no longer in your life anymore. And I think that's really tough. And it sounds like you're kind of going through that right now, which is what's bringing up the feelings of maybe wanting to reach out. But at least you'd have some closure on, I tried, I gave it a shot. If he reacts well for a while, maybe you do get another year or two
Right.
and he maybe goes off the deep end again. We can't predict his behavior, and you can choose to accept that, like Mom was saying.
Yeah.
You can choose to accept that, or if you feel like it's too much or he really is taking things to a intense level, then you can back off again and at least feel like at peace about those decisions. Like, I tried.
Yeah.
And this is how it worked out.
Well, I think at the end of the day, when any of these relationships, it comes down to, is the outcome worth the effort? And in some situations, it may be, and others it may not. And in those situations, you either have to decide, do you cut them off completely, or do you change the effort?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, if I'm getting this tiny little bit of outcome,
Right.
but I'm putting in all this effort, well, what if I just put in less effort?
I'll put in less. Yeah.
And then maybe there's an equal amount there where you
Right.
don't actually cut them off.
But they exist
Yeah,
in a
but
subsistence
it's-
relationship kind of
exactly.
way.
Well,
No, I really agree with
I
both of
wonder
those
too,
points.
like, Mom, when you look at your kids growing up, like, did you see them differently at 19, 25 or 6
Right.
and then 33? Like, did that look different, or do they always just feel like your kid?
She's fishing for compliments.
Yeah.
That's really
Am
what
I
it
like
is.
a child? Am I childlike?
I mean, I'm really mature, right, Mom?
She really is.
No, but I mean, like, we wouldn't know that. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what looking at your adult child.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely different.
Yeah.
Definitely. The growth, you see the maturity at, every 5-10 years. You go, wow, they've really stepped up.
Yeah.
Or
I
not.
know.
They have
That wasn't
dogs.
about me, guys.
Seems like it kind of was.
You know, since you're here, I actually have another question
Oh,
on
no.
this. No, I'm not. This is very
Okay, every
subject
time I
related.
hear that.
I feel like in our culture, we've talked about, and I've mentioned it, that there is this trigger happy block all the everybody's in your life. And a lot of the nuance gets lost. And my favorite answer so far is a combination of both of you, Nick and Whitney. I wish this was on videos.
Go on.
You're doing so good, Whitney.
Thanks.
Just in front of your mom.
love
Gold
this
stars.
podcast.
Yeah. This is such a great podcast. We still got 90 minutes. Hang in there. It's going to get worse. No, but like, I like that both of you are advocating for nuance and this concept that it doesn't have to be this black and white thing, that the relationship can scrape its knees and we can get back up again, that there can be seasons of, I need some space from you without necessarily having to lock the vault. But I'm really curious, and Kathy, you might not be able to even speak to this, but if one of your children closed you out of their life forever, you said something, they were hurt by it, they said, Mom, I've told you 25 times not to talk like that. Peter's the man I love. Stop telling me to leave him for podcast hosts, who are not
Name
aggressively handsome and maybe have a bad mustache, just other things, hypotheticals. But like if she said, I'm sick and tired of you butting into my life. I've told you so many times, that's it. Don't ever call me again.
It'd be
You're blunt.
heartbreaking.
I mean, it's
Heartbreaking.
impossible to imagine losing. I mean, it's like your child's dead.
Yes.
And you'd probably stalk her online and
I
sadly
would.
discover her podcast and be very disappointed.
I would show up on her doorstep.
Then she'd listen every week.
But you would. You probably would. You'd probably get in a plane and fly here. And I'm not leaving. I am your mother.
I brought a sleeping bag. I'm sleeping on your porch.
Right.
115?
Yeah, well, maybe I'd wait till October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want you
smart.
back in better weather.
Yeah. I'll be
November. It would be devastating, it sounds like.
It would.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine how you respond to that if you're that parent.
It would feel like a death.
Yeah.
there. Damn.
Yeah. And that's what I think about too is, my kids are 14 and 9, but I love them to pieces, right? And like obviously they're little kids to me right now, but I imagine wanting to be in their life forever. That's a big part of the relationship. I want to be there when they get married and when they have kids. I want to hold my grandkids.
When do you think your kids will cut you off?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm advocating on
There's
this
a
show
chance.
now, in case future them are listening. Give Dad another shot. Okay, Ryder wants to give his dad another shot. Give Dad another shot.
I mean, we don't know all the details in Ryder's life. We know more details in your life.
I'm just saying, Daddy's very hurt, and I miss you. I really want to be part of your life. I will work hard to make it better. Good luck, Ryder. Let us know what you decide or what develops with this, but I really hope that there's room maybe for a gray area. And for a lot of the people out there, this is a tough one because there's a lot of folks that are like, whoa, you guys don't sound like you're advocating for, me blocking my people. You don't know what they did to me. We don't. And that's why but I do think it's a very important, nuanced decision. I really want people to be very slow with the decision to nuke the relationship because it is devastating to the other party. It is like death. And I don't want it to be taken lightly. But I also think it's okay to have boundaries. But to me, boundaries are fences, not walls. They show you the perimeter of where I exist and where you exist and how we relate to each other. A boundary that's a wall is I can't see you, you don't exist to me. Those, I think, need to be reserved for very unusual situations. And those do happen. Such situations exist.
Yeah. I wanted to make that clear too.
Yeah.
Like it is valid.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're not saying
Yeah,
everyone.
it's
Yeah.
a tool in the toolkit.
Yeah.
But I think it ought to be more rare than we're seeing it these days. And I think that there's a lot of times that I hear about it and I go, huh, so you ended your forever relationship with that person because they didn't like the salad at your wedding, or like, so it's like, okay, I would rather therapy that with you for a while.
Yeah.
Right. And talk about how you can punish this person or put them on, put them in the doghouse in your relationship, but not make these. And this is something, Nick, you used to talk about in the past. It's been a few years since you've used the example, but we used to talk about boundaries versus ultimatums. And we've talked about that in addictions work, especially. But the danger of ultimatums, that they're just not effective. And then people eventually fail them. And now you have to follow through. Right. Because it's like, look, if you ever, Kathy, that's it. If you ever naysay Peter again, and then she's like, God, Peter sucks at cooking. And you're like, that's it. You're dead to me. And it's like, shit, you shouldn't have given her an ultimatum. Like, you should have,
Yeah.
let's create a procedural approach. Like, Mom, again, he's the man I married. He sucks at cooking. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Got to accept
Love
this.
him anyway.
Patreon.com/therapy. Find out what Peter did wrong. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about boundaries as a cisgendered person. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Smitty Scoop, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, Mason Miller, Tess Miller, Byler T, Paris, Team Monaco, Oscar Swanrose, Hannah Marie, and Emma Kane. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/therapy and sign up to become a therapy producer, and you get to hear your name at times like this.
So, Kathy, in between the questions, we do trivia breaks, and we all compete against each other to see who wins.
Super
We
fun.
do.
Yeah.
And
It's also rigged. I lose all of it. Yeah.
You won like 2 weeks ago.
Thank you, Jacob. It is true, Kathy, I did. I don't like to brag. I'm a
I
very
wasn't
humble
here,
person.
but you did win
I
that
wasn't
one.
here, so I don't
Yeah.
know if it actually happened.
You could listen
No,
to the tape.
I refuse.
No, I get it. Honestly, that's the right move.
we're keeping with our trivia from Emma.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
Emma wrote on the
some
Discord
horse
that they're
trivia.
not all horse related.
Yeah, it turns out they're not.
30 horse.
There were 4 pages, and Nick was like, I
No.
can't do this much horse trivia.
There's 30 pages, Jim. There's 30 pages.
Emma, come on. That's a season.
We do have some, at some point we're going to break it up. We got some Tour de France
Ooh.
questions
I
that
don't
came
know
in as well.
anything about that. I got to brush up.
All right. Which Italian fashion house has a long history of creating equestrian-inspired clothing and accessories? 2 points on the fly, 1 point multiple choice.
Gucci.
Damn it. I want Gucci too.
Dang, okay.
Fine, Gucci.
We're all going. Any guesses?
Versace, I don't know.
Ooh,
You can also
Versace's
wait
good.
for suggestions.
Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah.
If you want,
Tell
you
me
get
that.
1
Yeah.
point if you want to wait.
Yeah, take the high road.
Okay.
Wait
Yeah,
for the
wait for the
suggestions, because we all probably whiffed it.
Yeah.
A, Gucci.
Oh, come on, be there, Gucci.
B, Prada.
Ooh.
C, Versace.
Oh,
shit.
Okay, Mom.
D, Dolce and Gabbana.
Ooh. What do you want,
Gonna
Kathy?
stick with your instinct.
I mean, Versace's a strong choice.
Third.
She'll take the third one next.
Versace.
There it
Yeah,
is.
what the
Okay,
heck?
well, I'm going to go with Gucci.
All right.
Okay.
It is Gucci.
Yay! You're terrible at this, Kathy.
I am.
Dang it.
We just dunked on you.
I don't like trivia.
You're dead last.
I know. It's fun.
But Nick, you only got 1 point because you waited for
I did.
the options.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, which high-end fashion brand known for its equestrian roots sponsors the Burgley Horse Trails?
Ooh.
Oh,
I'm going to
gosh.
wait for answers.
Yeah, I
on
need
this one.
answers.
Yeah.
I definitely know what the Burgley horse trails are. But
Really?
I'll wait
I mean,
for
we all
answers.
do.
Yeah, we all
do.
do.
I just want to make it clear
Boy.
that I definitely know what that is.
I have tickets.
Jacob
going.
has weird horse knowledge, and I'm here
Yeah.
for it.
Okay. Ralph Lauren,
Ooh.
Burberry.
Hmm.
Is it Hermes?
Hermes.
Hermes?
Hermes.
Hermes.
Sorry.
Barbour?
Burberry? No? Did you already say
Yeah.
Burberry?
Bonanza.
Burberry. I already said Burberry.
Oh, you
that
did?
was
Yeah.
B.
Oh.
Barbour.
Barbar.
It's that cartoon elephant.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Barbar.
Barbar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Read the question again. Oh, wait. Or was
Which
that
high-end fashion brand known for its equestrian roots sponsors the Burgley Horse Trails?
Yeah, I want the
Oh.
Barbar thing.
Burgley.
Polo. I mean,
I'll take
Ralph
Burberry.
Lauren.
Ralph.
I'm gonna go Ralph Lauren.
I'm Ralph.
Yeah,
All right.
Ralph.
Kathy, what do you want?
Ralph.
Ralph. All right. Be there,
Ralph.
Barber.
Burberry.
Wait, did I get it or did he get it?
I got it.
Oh, you
You had D.
Ah, 3 points on Jacob. The rest of us got smoked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 to
Stay
2
down,
to
Jobin.
1 to 0.
We'll
I'll come back.
We'll come back with the.
As soon as we
rest
talk
of
about
these.
how to auction these horses off, I've got it. That'll be me. That's Price is Right. That's where I'm good at.
All right, we'll go back to questions. We'll come back.
Copy that. Next question, boundaries as a cisgendered person from our buddy, Anthony Camarada. Hello, Whitney, Nick, audio guy Jacob, PhD, and Mr. Jim. Fuck you, Anthony. Just every single question takes a shot at Jim.
Yeah.
I have a very complex question that has been a subject of conflict between me and my best friend. I was on vacation with a friend who recently came out as trans. I love and support my friend and felt honored that I was the first person they came out to. The problem arose when I told them that I enjoy going to shows at local LGBT bars and supporting artists in that community who perform there. This horrified my friend, and they told me that being a cis straight male invading that safe space that is for members of the community was wrong, and I could be seen as a possible threat taking up space in an area that I have no right to be in, because as a cis straight male, I don't need to worry about safety going to regular bars to hang out. I was taken aback by this because I go to, for example, a drag show with my fiance. We do our best not to draw attention to ourselves and are just supporting local artists who just so happen to perform in a space that is designated for lack of better work for people who identify as something other than cis or straight. I am a supporter and an ally. I've never had any problems in the past when going out to those spaces, and I'm writing in to get another opinion from all of you, and the friendly folks on Discord, of course. My friend said if we were to continue to want to inhabit those spaces, that they would have to be there with us, or it would be inappropriate. I guess my question is, am I in the wrong? Is there a better way for me to show support and be an ally? Thank you in advance and look forward to discussing this question on the Discord with everybody. Anthony Camarada, pronouns are he and him.
Does Anthony say where he is?
I don't think that we got a location on that one. I'm not
Good question,
sure.
though.
Yeah.
I think that matters a great deal.
I think that matters a lot.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Where he is?
Yeah. Geographically. Like,
Left,
The
right.
call is coming from
up,
inside the
down.
house.
Right.
Yeah, under, over.
no, like,
What do you
if
mean?
okay,
Take us into
I'm
it.
going to tell you my whole journey.
There we
So
go.
listen to this
Oh,
question.
Let's do it.
a
Listen to this
journey.
question. I had a whole journey in my head. My first journey was your friend is an asshole,
Right.
and you are certainly welcome to go to these clubs and these events. The more I thought about it, the more I got into if you were in an area where people who have, for lack of a better word, these lifestyles, where they are less safe than
Yeah.
other areas. I grew up in the Deep South. There was Klan activity. There was all this stuff.
Right.
I went to gay bars all the time when I was a kid. When I was a teenager, I went to gay bars all the time. And I was fully aware, even back then, that the people in these bars and myself, we were in some degree of danger.
Right. Because Stonewall. I mean,
That's it.
there was
There
a lot
were
of things
people.
going
There were
on.
people in the surrounding areas that would not be happy with
Yeah.
us being in these bars at night and having a good time and celebrating people and diversity and culture and everything else. So I guess from that point of view, I can get it a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think you're doing anything wrong.
Right.
I don't think you're doing a single thing wrong by going and honestly, I don't even care if you're there to support. If you're there having a good time,
Right.
and not harshing anybody else's mellow while you're there, I don't think you do anything wrong at all. If you're sitting over in the corner going like, man, I hate all these people.
Right.
Like, as long as you're not bothering them,
Pay
as long,
full price and tip.
yeah, as long as you're not, letting them know that you hate them, and like
Right.
at some point you kind of
Yeah.
go like, like you're not doing any harm.
Well, and there's more than a few Republican senators at that drag show putting money on the table going, fuck these guys, I'm going to vote against them, all of them. And then they keep putting money on the table. I'll be back next week to tell them how I hate them again.
Is the Louisiana governor that just signed the 10 Commandments in the school, is his name Kennedy?
Yeah,
Is that right?
That feels right.
The last time I saw him, this is real, was a couple of months ago in Vegas at a very specific, very raunchy show. And that's the only time I've ever seen him in person.
there you go.
But that's
okay.
where he was a few months ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think you're doing anything wrong by this. I think your friend does have a kernel of a point in there that maybe they don't. I don't know.
I can see the argument.
I'm really conflicted on it.
I can see the argument.
Yeah.
I feel like to kind of piggyback off what Jacob's saying is somewhere like a gay bar or where there's a drag show, and this is my opinion, is that is a space where people are expressing themselves. And like Jacob said, if you are a ally and a safe person, in my opinion, you are welcome there. If there is an event that is curated for, I'm going to use the word queer here to describe this, but for people who are queer to gather together to almost like a queer event, like, hey, this is purposely for us to gather together to discuss, to whatever. I think that's different if you show up as like a cis hetero male and are like, I want to be here too, unless somebody explicitly invited you as their support person or like a support group or something like that. I think something that is described, and those are not going to be like a gay bar. That's different.
Man, I am so hesitant to say though that it's okay to exclude people. For, you know, I don't know how to say this where it sounds less ridiculous than this. You're being excluded based on your sexuality.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's weird.
There's I think we can all agree there's an irony to it. I think we're also all struggling with the fact that we realize this population, as you were just sharing, Jacob, has a very real reality that we just don't experience.
Agreed.
And there is a very serious sense of safety and needing a safe place where they can assume that every person there shares this identity with them, and that should be an assumption they can walk into sometimes, and that's not wrong either to want that. But I think we all, and I like, Whitney, your point about there's a difference between outward-facing things and inward-facing things. I don't
think you could use that word either, though.
No?
You shouldn't use the N-word.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. There it is.
I was like, what?
There it is.
That one took me a second.
Oh, that just made Jim so sad there.
And just, how do we delete that? I guess is where I'm at. So like, I was reminded of like Alcoholics Anonymous. So like AA has a menu of meetings, but they always indicate this is an open or closed. And so open really is, you don't have to identify as an alcoholic to be there. So you can be a friend, you can be, just whatever. Like you can just be a student who's doing a research paper. You're welcome to come. But then there are closed meetings where you are violating the integrity of that meeting by showing up and not identifying as one of us.
Interesting.
And that's the deal. And like,
now, what
we're asking
happens
you to show
if I show up at that meeting, if I show up at a closed AA meeting and say, I don't want to talk, I want to sit in this chair over here by the coffee maker, and I'm gonna hang out, I'm gonna observe.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't bother anybody, so nobody would know.
Right. No, of course. Yeah. But I mean, what would someone ask me to leave at that point? Would someone come to me and kind of inquire what was going on?
Most likely, absolutely nothing would happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in the real world, there could be a context where here we are in our circle and we're sharing, and then you tell a story of going out with your boys and having some great drinks and you had some whiskey, and then you go, oh, by the way, I'm not an alcoholic, so just nobody needs to worry about me relapsing or anything like that. Well, this is not the right
that would just
place.
be a weird thing.
That's just a fucking weird thing to do. But like, so I'm trying to take it to an extreme of like, and I could see a similar extreme for somebody that says, when I'm here, I want to be around my people with our shared living experience. And if you're trying to, be friendly with us and you don't come from that experience, I can see the argument that there could be what are called closed spaces.
I'm also curious about age of everyone involved here.
Yeah.
Because this feels like a younger person.
I think it is.
Who is saying like you can't come into this space. You're not part of this. You can't come into this.
Right.
I don't know.
And it's also a very new journey for that.
That's
friend.
what I was going to say. I
Yeah.
don't want to take away from your friend's
No,
feelings.
I don't
but
either.
But I do
Because
think,
they do bring up valid points.
correct.
Right.
They certainly do.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, you're kind of feeling that out, and that would feel scary or intimidating. Maybe if you were in a space where you assumed everyone else had a shared experience, which you should not assume that. I think in a bar, people can be any sexuality. Like you said, how does anyone know that you sitting in the corner, even if you are a male and have a girlfriend sitting there next to you, a girl sitting next to you, like how would you know what those people's sexuality
Right.
is. And
Yeah.
if you are an ally, you're presumably not like causing a ruckus or like,
Right.
you know,
Right.
yelling slurs
Yeah,
at
because you'll
people.
get thrown
like-
out of the bar.
So it's weird to me.
If you're an asshole in a bar, you're being an asshole in a bar.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird to me that your friend who felt comfortable enough to come out to you is also saying like you would make others uncomfortable. That's kind of a weird
To me, it
dynamic
tells me
there.
more about the friend. I think Anthony's probably a very safe person. Obviously,
Yeah.
friend felt safe coming out to Anthony. It tells me a lot about friend going through their own fear. And probably just what we're learning is really that friend desperately needs a safe space.
Yeah.
And friend is still very much struggling with how safe I feel telling anybody this. And probably does look at those bars as like, okay, that's like the one place I've been
That's
able
my
to
spot.
hide and be me. And
Yeah.
it horrifies me that you would show up, a person who I wasn't ready to talk to, and that you would invade that space that I would think is safe.
Yeah. I do
From
remember
that angle, I could see it.
when I was in high school, I was probably like a sophomore or so, maybe sophomore or junior in high school. I had a weird childhood.
Yeah.
So I
Sounds
was
grew up
like
in
it. I'm like, go
Louisiana,
on.
Captain.
so
Well, I
at-
was going to say
Yeah,
that's
that's it.
kind of
Yeah.
Makes sense.
so I was at a gay bar one night, sophomore, junior in high school. We're hanging out there after a show or something like that. We're there at night, and I saw a classmate of mine in the bar, and I waved at them. Man, this has been so fucking long ago. I think it was a female classmate. I think that she was female. So I waved at her. Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, I waved at her and said like hello to her, and she just looked alarmed
Right.
because she was not out.
Right.
It didn't occur to me that this was, it didn't occur to 14, 15-year-old me that this was a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
They're like, oh, I'm here, you're here, we're both having a good time. What could
cares?
the problem possibly be?
Right.
And then the next day in school, I see her in the halls, and she won't look at me, and I
yeah.
kind of go over to her and, hey, how you doing? And she avoids me and everything else. I'm like, oh, this is a thing on that end, and now
Yeah.
she's worried that I'm going to say something to someone, or I'm going to out her and all this
Right.
stuff.
That's a good point.
So I mean, there are things like that to be considered, I guess.
That's fair.
There's also, I wonder if your friend has thoughts of you kind of laughing at drag queens instead of, you go to a drag show, you could certainly laugh. Like there's comedy, there's things
Yeah.
to laugh. Everyone's laughing there, and you're laughing
Some of
with
it's
everyone.
intentionally over the top as part of the thing.
But the assumption could be that you're going and making fun of people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious. I have follow-up questions for your friend.
The sensitivity.
Doesn't it
makes
come
sense.
out to more of a acceptance? I mean, you want to be accepted for
Right.
whoever you are, straight
Right.
or not.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
hard to decide who's going to
And if you're going to
accept
come
you.
out, you're going to come out to someone you're comfortable with. So
Right.
you think you're going to be accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a delicate issue. It really is. And I think that it's so important that your friend told you, look, for what it's worth, I'm not comfortable.
I know. What do you
and
do
like,
with
okay,
that?
you've got to download that data.
Yeah.
Because how important, like, if this is one of my central relationships and I want to take that feedback, if I have other, friendships that I could talk to and, hey, one of my friends told me they were uncomfortable with this. Can I get your take? And, I think that then you can start averaging those data points together and figure out in our community, what's the vibe? Because your community may be like, look, we're scared as hell. Like Orlando had that shooting in a gay club.
Pulse, yeah.
Yeah, the
yeah.
Pulse. And it's like, okay, maybe that and I think that Jacob's point about where you are is very relevant.
Yeah.
In Vegas, we are the tourism capital of the world.
Yeah.
Like, we have tons of bars and clubs and all sorts of varieties and flavors and shows. And like,
We
it is
have an
totally
area in town that Whitney should take her mom to called the Fruit Loop.
Let's
Yes,
go.
It's awesome.
to the Fruit Loop.
It's just a bunch of gay bars. It's great.
Tomorrow!
Yay! But yeah, I mean, it's totally normal to walk in and out of all those places. And I don't even think any of us, like, if you saw your buddy at one of those bars, you wouldn't go, oh, I didn't know that guy was gay. You'd just be like, hey, man, you like this place too?
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
cocktail
Totally.
specials are fucking great.
I do think at some point. So I guess I have two answers for you. First of all, you can absolutely go to these bars. You can absolutely go hang out in these. You're not doing anything wrong by going there.
Yeah.
That being said, your relationship with your friend is a different thing. You can be right
Yeah.
or you can be happy.
Yeah. Good point.
I mean, at some point, you have to kind of sit down and decide, like, what is more important to me is being right and knowing that I can go to these bars and go to these shows and everything else and be happy and like it's awesome, but it's bothering my friend.
Yeah.
So at some point you're just going to have to sit down with your friend and have this conversation with them.
Yeah.
Well, or I would say just like validate them that they would feel uncomfortable in that
Yes.
situation. And maybe it doesn't mean, just like Jacob said, it doesn't mean you're in the wrong for going. I agree. I don't think you're in the wrong for going to those spaces, but your friend is feeling that. And so validating them and sitting with them kind of through that. I can imagine your friend, if they are new to,
Right.
coming out in this lifestyle and they're still working through that, there will be a time where I would imagine they will like lighten up or
Possibly.
adjust.
Right.
They may not, but
I mean, I was at a party just a couple of weeks ago at the home of someone who is a drag star. They were on RuPaul's Drag Race and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, and it was a lot of drag queens there, a lot of people in the queer community there. There's no question of like the same way I wouldn't ask someone at this party, what is your sexuality? What do you like? Any of these things? Like, there's no question of anybody coming up to me and going like, "Oh, who are you? What are you like? How are you involved in the world? How are you involved?
You're not going to get
community?"
ID'd.
Yeah, like there's not going to be that rundown. There's not going to be any of this. But
that is also a Vegas thing. I mean, I don't know how it would be in another place.
maybe
Because like I think about comparison that might be, appropriate is think about like civil rights in the black community.
Yeah.
And like there were historic black colleges. You think about like Howard. And there's, in the beginning there were probably times where there were white kids that were like, no, I'm on the level. We're cool. I would march with you. I want to be here to support you. And they might be like, hey man, thank you. And there's totally times and places where we want you at the event and we need your support. This is not for you, though. This space is for us, and there needs to be safe spaces that are just for us.
Yeah.
And you're really not welcome. And it's not that we don't like you. It's not that you're not good enough. It's just we need that. And I think there's an argument to be made for that. It's very hard to know where those spaces specifically are. Because bars thrive on capitalism and commerce. And if you ask the bar owner, who do you want to come here and spend money? They'd say, not assholes and good tippers.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm looking for. Don't harsh the vibe. Make this a safe place. If you're a dick, we'll throw you out. Spend well.
come be fun.
I mean, honestly, though, even the race thing isn't very analogous.
Yeah.
Because, like, if there is a historically black college, like you used Howard University as an example, if you show up there,
it's obvious.
Yeah. Like it's just
Right.
you being there, we can see,
Yeah. There's no hiding it.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas I think, kind of to Jacob's earlier point, is like if you're there and you're not causing a problem and you're not, out there just saying, hey, I'm not one of you, but I support you.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
If you're not doing that,
if you're not wearing
I
a
don't
T-shirt
think-
that says it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve,
Steve,
or some bullshit.
Yeah, if you're not being an asshole,
Yeah.
I don't think most people are even going to realize.
I agree with all that. But what if your friend finds out you went after they told you? This
Oh,
is
yes,
horrific.
I think-
Well, that's
Okay,
it. No, it's two
That's
different
a
problems.
different thing.
It's two
Okay.
different problems. Like that's what I was saying. Is like you have
That's
the
fair.
issue of can I go to these events with a clear conscience? I think the
Yeah.
answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
I think you have to have a conversation
I mean, it's okay
with
with
your
us.
friend. Yeah,
I give you the
okay.
Your pod therapy friends are fine with it. All of us other cis
Whatever
heteros.
that's worth.
Yeah,
I have
we're
a
great with it.
PhD. I'm fine with it.
Dr. Jacob.
That's
right.
So
Yeah, I think.
But
you bring up a
I
good
think
point.
I think you got to have a chat with your friend and kind of get to the bottom of what it is about it that bothers them. What about you going to these places that bothers your friend?
Right.
Maybe they're concerned for you. Maybe they're like maybe they have concerns that you haven't thought of. So I mean, depending on how close you are with this person, which it sounds like you're pretty fucking close with them.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe sit down and call them up and say you said this to me the other day. It's really been on my mind a lot.
Yeah.
I'd love to sit down. Like let's go sit down and have some coffee and kind of hash this out.
I could see
because I want to continue on living my life the way that I like living it. I'm having a really good time going to these venues and seeing these shows and hanging out. And I these are friends of mine. But I also don't want it to upset you.
Yeah.
So let's sit down and just chat about it.
I like that. I think that's probably. I like your point, Jacob, that there are two separate questions being asked here, and they don't have to have the same answer.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. Yeah, I like that a lot. Quick anecdote about the Adam and Eve thing. Did you see the video of the woman who thought there's an Adam and Eve store and she thought it was a Bible store?
No.
great.
No.
Yeah. And so
because the Adam and Eve is in a sex
it just
toy
says
shop.
Adam and Eve in like cursive on the store. And so the daughter, she was like, "Oh, I want to stop by that Bible store I saw over by this." And she's like, What
Right
Bible
off the
store?"
freeway.
She's like, "Oh, you know the Christian bookstore is called Adam and Eve," and the daughter's like, Yes, we will.
Yes.
And just like taped the whole thing. Yeah. And it's great.
Send it to the text group
Mom
later.
goes walking toward the door and like opens the door and then like sees somebody coming out and so like steps out to like help open the door and the person's just carrying dildos.
Good.
And it's just the best moment ever. And the mom like doesn't fully register and is like, and then just like keeps going in the store. And the daughter's just loving it. It's the
Cross-shaped
best.
dildos.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Would you like your daughter to take you to a sex shop while you're in Las Vegas?
There's many
You
to
weren't
choose
supposed
from,
to show
Kathy.
them my video.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I might learn something.
There's always more to learn.
There's a great one across from New Orleans. It's a sex shop in the front. They've got like all the sex toys and everything, and then in the
like
back,
a movie theater,
like,
right?
Oh yeah,
Lord.
they've got that.
Oh, God.
And then you go out the front door and you go to the shop right behind them, and it's all BDSM stuff.
There you go.
Yes, you can
Wow.
you get two of them in one parking lot
Yeah.
there.
We
And
will
we can
go
get
with
you
them
some-
What is this for?
Yeah. Who'd you fly in with, Kathy? Because depending upon the luggage rules, we might have to get you an extra bag.
She checked a bag.
Yeah.
Southwest. She
Oh,
does
good.
not
You get
fly
the free
Spirit.
bags. Yeah,
Oh, so you can get a second bag even.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
How many
Yeah.
dildos
They sell
can we
luggage
fit in there?
Yeah,
Honey, look what I brought home.
ma'am, your luggage is vibrating. Damn right it is.
I
Is there
have
a lawnmower in there?
I have 8 leather dog masks in the bag.
Sure. Dog.
Are you a terrorist?
Oh, God.
We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about Inside Out 2 and anxiety. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Some of those dildos will turn you inside out too.
Oh, damn.
All right.
Have a bloody
Today's
sock just hanging there.
episode is brought to you by Robert Browdy Jr. Mentz, Kayla Lansbury, Kevin Chamberlain, Ben Stanley, Adam Hathaway. I'm reading the wrong list.
Good job.
Smitty Scoop, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, Mason Miller, Tess Miller, Byler T, Paris T, Monaco, Oscar Swanrose, Hannah Marie, and Emma Kane.
We love
And
all those
if
other people too, though.
Yeah.
would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy.
Or if you have opinions about the questions, patreon.com/therapy. Jump in for $1. Join the Discord that Anthony was talking about.
There you go.
Yeah.
And sound off. Let's hear your
So
opinions.
curious.
I know. This is a great one to see. I'm excited for this episode.
Oh my God. All right. Emma.
We should review the
Emma got
scores. Right now, Jacob's in the lead, I believe, with a 3.
3.
And we're tied at 2,
2.
Whitney. Nick has 1, and Kathy's
Mom
coming in
has
last
1.
place with a donut.
Oh,
Kathy,
no,
we
you
have a
got-
question for you from Slurpy K Motherfucker in the Discord. Was Jacob as tender and as attentive a lover as you had hoped he would be?
Don't answer that.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Doubt.
It's just a
doubt.
yes or no.
Look him in the eyes when you answer it. He likes that.
It's mustaches.
Oh, there you
The
go.
mustache.
Yeah. This is how it goes down in Pod Therapy. We seduce moms.
Oh my gosh.
Our whole side
A new
thing.
hashtag.
Until now, it's just been Jim's mom.
It's just, yeah, my mom's just been getting passed around for 7 years. Finally have another mom in the mix.
Around. There's only 2 other
Let
people.
the record show Jim said that.
She knows what she is. All right, Nick, what do we got?
All right. I got a beef to pick with Emma here.
Oh, take an issue, huh?
Yeah, because she knows I'm not going to be able to pronounce any of this.
Yeah.
The Spanish writing school in Vienna is famous for its performance featuring which breed of horse? And now I have to
horse
pronounce
breeds.
all these horse breeds.
I'm
need the
going to wait
options.
for those options.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take options too.
Holstein, final answer.
That's not a.
Yeah, no.
They do
That's a
make good-
cow joke for all you
yeah.
folks.
Yeah,
that-
sorry.
Non-cow.
Wow.
Holstein's
all
does
you
make a good
non-cow
chocolate shake,
people.
though.
Way over
Oh
my
yeah,
head.
it does.
Yeah. I think they're
Okay.
closed.
No.
Yeah, I think there's a restaurant used to be in the Cosmopolitan. I don't think it's there anymore.
Like when? I
don't
was
know.
there like last year. I
oh,
think.
then maybe it's still there.
All right.
Sorry, go on.
No,
could be
you're
wrong
good.
about
Go to
You're good.
Holstein.
I'm fine not
yeah.
reading these because this is just
You
going
can
to be
skip
embarrassing.
that question.
No,
right?
no.
Oh.
I
Not
can
anymore.
now.
Yeah.
Andalusian, I believe.
That feels
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Lipizanar,
Sure.
That's a weight loss
Oh,
drug.
Yeah.
Lucentano, and Hanoverian.
All right. Well, I think we're all shooting in the dark.
I'm gonna
on this
go
one.
A because
Yeah, that one did
Why
sound
not?
fun.
I'm
Yeah.
going to go B because it's after A.
Yeah. I'm taking D.
I'm
The D.
thinking B.
All right, also going B.
I'm going A because I'm pretty sure that's the right answer.
Wow.
Oh, yay. I might have a shot.
It is B.
Oh, Mom's coming back.
For Mom and me.
Nice.
Okay, which breed of horse is known for its strength and size? Is often associated with pulling beer wagons and famous
Ooh,
Clydesdale.
Clydesdale.
It is a Clydesdale. Fun fact:
Yes.
Britt, Iowa, not just known for HoboCon.
All right, time out, Nick. Everybody, we're taking a poll real quick. Now, you know it's a fact about Britt, Iowa. Will this, in fact, be a fun fact or just a fact about Iowa?
I'm going to go all the way
Always
to
fun.
barely even a fact. Probably disputable rumor.
Lore. It's just Brit lore.
That's right. Iowan
Not
lore.
just known for HoboCon.
Go
Way to
on.
resume that point.
It is also the draft horse show. They do the draft horse show.
What's a draft horse?
They're
big
Clydesdale.
fucking horses.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Clydesdale.
what's
There you
a
go.
draft?
Yeah, and so they'll have like the
Oh,
top.
a show. Okay.
Yeah, like
It's
and
the
so,
horses
like,
that
the
you
top-
never see in the bestiality videos.
Yeah.
It's the ones you look at.
Yeah.
You speak for yourself.
It's just unhealthy.
Yeah.
I'm more of a vanilla horse porn guy. Yeah. Not into that upper limit stuff.
That'll only last for so long.
Once you get bit, once you got the bug,
Once you get that horse bite,
just
Once
keep
you
on
build up
going.
a tolerance, you gotta keep
That's
going.
right. Mr. Ed's where I got started.
you feed him one carrot.
And this is why my mom will not come on this show.
Come on, Nick.
Your mom won't come on what?
Oh, that's awesome.
That's how we go live on Twitch. Just save that for the finale.
No, the top 16 teams, draft horse teams in the nation,
Okay.
come to Britt, Iowa. They do the
Wow.
draft horse show.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're all on Clydesdales?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting points
Okay.
on that. Cash them in.
Yes, and we all got that.
Yeah, 2 points for everyone.
Oh, there's only one left in this category. Let's go ahead and knock this
Thank
out.
All right,
God.
Which horse breed developed in the United States is known for its versatility and is often used with both Western and English riding disciplines?
Oh.
I know this one.
I need options.
I want to say an answer, but
I'm
I'm
gonna say-
so convinced it's wrong.
I'm going to say quarter horse.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah, they use those for training and stuff. I
Yeah.
think.
I want to say okay. I'm not actually giving an answer. Let me start there because I don't want to get locked in on this.
Sure, talking a lot for somebody who's not answered the fucking question.
I think Mustang, but then I feel like that's
Polly Mustang.
no. I know it's a horse. God damn it! I know it's a horse.
Polly
I just don't know
Are you
what.
sure it's a
I don't know if
horse?
it's like a boy horse. Like maybe just all boy horses are called Mustangs.
No.
So like I don't know. So I don't want to say it because I don't know if it's like a breed or if
where's
it's
the
just like
stream?
boy horses or Mustangs.
dumb.
And like girl horses or Mustangs. I don't know. Like no G.
Okay.
Mares, is that what they call
I'll
them?
give you an extra half point. Can you confirm that a Mustang is actually a horse?
Oh well, yeah.
Or
There's a
is it
horse
just
on
a
the,
nickname for Sally?
there's a horse on the car. So there's definitely a horse.
On the Polly Mustang.
Yeah, on the Polly Mustang. Yeah.
You're sure that Paulie just didn't have a favorite horse? And
Yeah,
that was just his
pretty
logo?
confident.
Yeah.
And is that
Yeah.
a male or a
Pretty.
female?
I think it's a boy. I think it's a boy horse.
How many legs does it have?
If you look closely at the logo.
Oh yeah, you can tell. He's hung. He's hung like a car.
Like a car.
If Mustang would just have a big old swinging horse dick hanging down to that logo,
If that was how we
they
measured
would be
horsepower,
more popular.
how many horse dicks of energy does this engine have?
like Ford stock would go through the roof if they just
yeah.
added a horse dick.
I'm going to wait for options.
Yes,
Oh, that's
I
gonna
too shall be
happen.
waiting for options.
No, I'm waiting.
Yeah, you're going quarter horse.
I am going quarter horse. Morgan, Paint, quarter horse,
Morgan.
saddlebred.
Okay.
It's my favorite thing to make a sandwich with.
Paint sounds nice.
Paint?
No, saddlebred.
Oh.
Both good. Both good.
I was going to say saddlebred.
Morgan. I don't know.
I mean, I'll ride a quarter horse with Nick here. I don't know what you guys are doing.
You're in the
Go
lead
quarter horse?
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take my 2 points. It is a quarter horse.
Yeah.
nice.
I'll take my 1 point and keep my lead.
Yeah,
you go.
just cruising through. All right. So
Cool. Thank you,
Jacob's
Emma.
still in the lead. Nick probably in second for all I know.
Sure.
Whitney and I are probably still tied, and
Yeah,
Karen's
I'm
on the
still
board.
last.
Yeah.
Not
yeah,
Karen, Kathy. Whatever.
She's not a Karen.
Yeah, I know. Jesus.
How dare you?
Can't call white women that. Inside Out 2 and Anxiety from our pal Emma, who's also the author of our trivia this week. Thank you, Emma. Hey, everyone. The past 2 weeks, nearly every session, my clients have mentioned the movie Inside Out 2.
Jim, you've seen this movie, right?
I have. Whitney,
Yeah.
you saw it too, right?
No.
You all haven't seen it yet?
No.
Oh, what? This is my
we
answer.
go see it
tonight.
tomorrow?
Jim question.
It's going to putt to victory. And how they related to some specific scene, emotion, etc. It's been super helpful for many of them to language and bring into sessions what they've felt or experienced. It's also brought up a question I have for myself too. When watching the movie, what struck me was the competitive drive, passion, motivation, and energy that the main character Riley had when anxiety was in control versus when emotions were working harmoniously. As I'm sure many of you now know from the Patreon interview and the Discord, I've been a competitive equestrian for most of my life. I always had an enormous drive and motivation. I would take advantage of every learning opportunity I could, rode every chance I got, and worked my ass off nonstop. Absolutely nothing could stop me. Even not being able to afford things just led to me getting creative, such as clearing other people's equipment, braiding horses at shows, etc., for any extra dollar I could get. When Riley, the main character of the movie, was up before everyone else practicing hockey and taking every opportunity she could, it reminded me of my teenage self. For a large portion of my teen years, heading into my early 20s, I worked full-time for a trainer who basically exploited my drive and anxiety, put me in really bad situations, working with dangerous horses, leaving me places on purpose, turning me against my parents, trying to run me over with her truck,
Wow.
telling me things were my fault that I had
That
nothing to do
escalated
with,
quickly.
etc. Yeah. One time made me sweep the floors, tried to fucking kill me. Jesus. And let's say things ended up causing a lot of trauma. I wanted nothing more than to be the best writer I could be, have her tell me I did a good job, and for her to be proud of me. This all led to a massive increase in anxiety and panic attacks. I worked 7 days a week for her, 10 to 14 hours a day, while having an overloaded schedule for my bachelor's degree, which allowed me to graduate in 3 years. I was kicked out of her barn right after graduation when I started seeing my own therapist, understanding boundaries, and she basically couldn't get any more out of me, so I was not good enough for her. I was devastated and am still sad for that part of myself. I found a wonderful new barn and friends and have been happy there for about 5 years now, as I finally made progress with my own anxiety and started to discover that instead of all my hard work paying off and becoming a better writer, she actually caused major damage to my writing as well as my physical and mental damage to both of the horses I had at the time. Everything seemed to change. I'd given absolutely everything I could, and not only got nothing for it, the opposite of what I was working for happened. I was going to have to undo what she screwed up with my writing, plus relearn all that I learned wrong. The damage to one of my horses resulted in him being put down a few years ago, and the other, Tonka, the famous pod therapy horse, will never be competitive in the sport I brought him in for due to the damage she caused. He has found a new career path, which he loves, but that doesn't change what happened. I spent about 3 years finding no joy in my favorite thing in the world. Going to ride was a chore, and lessons and training were even worse. I'm in a better place now, and I'm back to everything that I love, but it was so different, and in some ways I miss how it was. The fire in me is gone. I couldn't figure out what this could be until seeing that movie, and how Riley, the main character in the story, her drive and passion and motivation and general energy changed when her anxiety decreased. This isn't a symptom of anxiety under generalized anxiety disorder in the DSM-5-TR as far as I can tell, but I can see how the symptoms combined can lead to a drive. I haven't noticed this with any of my clients either. While I love having my anxiety under control, I really miss the fire that I had. My question is first, have you seen this phenomenon of decreased anxiety taking away motivation, drive, and passion for what someone loves? And second, any suggestions on finding that fire again? Could there be some kind of trauma response or parts issues mixed in, or could it just be as simple as I'm not wildly anxious as a human anymore, so maybe it's just gone? Any suggestions? Thanks, Emma, aka Tonka Truck the Pony. Oh, there's a picture of a Mustang on the board now.
Oh my god!
Oh, with a horse stick. Oh, very good.
Did
Very
you just
good.
Photoshop that?
That's a T-shirt. That's obviously a T-shirt.
Oh my God! I'm just getting a notification from my stock in Ford.
Yeah,
It is
straight up,
skyrocketed.
hard as a rock.
Yeah, just
Yeah, saluting.
through the roof.
Fantastic.
Or the floor.
So for everybody, really quick recap of this movie, Inside Out.
Yeah.
It's a Disney movie about a teenage girl, and the movie's about her emotions that are little characters in the movie. They live in her head, and the emotions are going through this whole journey of trying to basically help her, and they're dealing with things that are their obstacles. And meanwhile, little girl's like living her life, and you're watching as different emotions control her, and she goes through her experience. In the second movie, they introduce the new emotion of anxiety. Anxiety takes control over the little girl, trying to anticipate everything that could go wrong. The little girl's trying to join the high school hockey team, and she really wants to make friends and be really important. And so in her anxious state of fearing that she will not be on this hockey team and will therefore have no friends, she is extremely motivated. And this kid like goes Wayne Gretzky, and she's like waking up at 3 a.m., practicing on the ice, bullying other kids, knocking them over, taking every single shot. And she's extremely good, but she's also clearly snapping. And the little girl's like becoming unwound throughout the movie. The emotions have a little civil war in her head and ultimately try to stop anxiety. And anxiety basically goes into this frenzy, and the little girl is like breaking down and also like accessing herself, like pushing too hard. And so she's kind of snapping, and ultimately that backfires and she kind of implodes. And so Emma's referring to that character and saying, weird, in that movie, anxiety is a cause of that child becoming really driven and motivated to excel at something. And Emma's relating to that and saying, I used to be very anxious and desiring to please my mentor, and I was extremely driven in my sport of being an equestrian rider. And that's what Emma's using to cue up this larger question of, do we as therapists recognize a correlation between those who live with anxiety and being perhaps very motivated, very driven to succeed?
It has been a long time. It was pre-Whitney when we talked about kind of having emotional issues and these types of things kind of generate a superpower.
Yeah.
Being obsessive about something, for instance.
Sure.
You can sit on something for long enough and work at something long enough that you get really fucking good at it, or you really excel at things. I mean, that's something that we've talked about in the past, but it's been quite a while.
The good old days. That's what we refer to.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Back when it was just the boys.
Fuck off.
Make this podcast great again.
Yeah. When we just hit on each other's moms. Remember?
Well, you were like,
Yeah,
my
and the
mom
moms
just
weren't
got
so stuck up about it.
like my mom just got passed around. I'm like, around. It's just back and forth. There's two people.
Because I'm a team player, Whitney.
Jacob,
Jacob's
stop.
just putting up nonstop pictures of real horses with their dongs out.
Thanks, Jacob.
That's a Mustang.
Why aren't
No,
we
that's a
streaming
Mustang.
this?
When we go
That's
on
why.
Twitch, that's the end of the show. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way
Ouch,
we survived
yeah.
the first episode.
Oh, I know where that picture came from, guys. Weird.
That was in my personal gallery.
Jim sent it.
Yeah. That's what
Why
I
is that
texted you
labeled
earlier.
medium-sized horse dick?
No, but this is a good point. The superpower thing. So, like, okay, as the person who lives with anxiety at this table, that's very true for me. And like, this is something that I've noticed with other people. Like, I emailed Nick the other day from my new UNR email account. Did you get my email?
No.
Yeah, I sent you a new email. So I got. I now have an email at unr.edu because I now have a third job. And so, like, yeah.
You do?
I do. I'm now going
boy.
to teach at UNR. So, yay.
Wow.
More things going on.
Another thing.
But no, I mean, like, there is a truth to that.
Apparently, no one's been reading my letters.
Yeah.
I've sent.
You, by the way, recommended me for this. I appreciate it. You're doing great, buddy. We appreciate you opening up all the doors for me.
Yeah.
But no, like, the anxiety, I think, drives this sense of, like, if I have, like, a slow day or, like, my clinical calendar gets light or, you have those cancellations or whatever, I freak out. Because I'll be like, oh, my God, like, my practice is crumbling. Nobody wants to work with me anymore. It's all over. I need to find 10 other things that I can be involved in right now to validate my existence and provide for my family. And so, like, I will immediately open up all these other doors. And then in that frenzied state, I'll catch fish. All of a sudden I'll be like, yeah, Jim, we'd love to have you teach here. I'm like, shit, I did that during a really slow week, but now I'm going to
stressed.
yep, now I'm committed. Like, I'll do it. And so like, I just sign up for all these things. And there is like this huge motivation to like start new projects or things, or like even with the podcast, like, Nick will tease me because in the Patreon, I'll pre-record months of material and just schedule it to be released in Patreon because I have like slow time, and all of a sudden I get really motivated and driven because I'm feeling anxious of like, oh no, it's my week is slow. People don't want to work with me anymore. Like, am I going to fail as a therapist? Am I not, useful anymore? Are people not, getting anything from me? And then I'll start panicking, be like, I need to be productive. I need to be helpful. Pod therapy. I'm going to do something with them. Those guys will appreciate this right now. And so like, I'll just dump a bunch of energy in there, but it's entirely anxiously like oriented energy. So when I hear this question, I think, oh, fuck yeah. Like that's 100% a thing that happens.
So when you are not in that state, like you said, after that passes, or I would say even after like years have passed and you've kind of had this cycle, we'll call it, not to diagnose.
Yeah.
I have this cycle.
Oh, it's diagnosed, Whitney.
Okay.
You go ahead.
Great.
I ain't living in denial.
All right. So you have these cycles. Is there ever a point in time where you're thinking, wow, I don't love the cycle, even though you like the
outcome?
Yeah. Or what is
Yeah.
that experience like for you at all?
It's tough. And it's interesting because if you go back into like the history of psychotherapy, Freud talked about this. He called it a positive neurosis. And that was one of the things Freud would originally try to help with is he'd say, okay, in your anxious state, you're over here crying and fretting. It would be interesting, build furniture. Like let's steer your energy to building furniture and use that anxiousness to like, at least you'll have furniture, and then you could sell it or whatever. And so like for him, that was one of his earlier interventions was I can't make it go away. So let's ride that horse.
Sure.
And I probably shouldn't say horse. I feel like
No,
horses have been
that's
ruined.
off-
in
Yeah,
the show.
off the table.
And riding the horse also not okay.
But it kind of reminded
It'll
me.
just hurt you.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of a friend I have. We were recently discussing this, and they were talking about how they'll clean their whole house.
Right.
And I mean, stuff I'm like, I haven't cleaned behind my stove, like,
Right,
or
yeah.
pulled out my fridge. And
Right.
I don't know, maybe since I moved in, like,
Yeah.
things that they'll do. And so I asked them, I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to be able to clean like that. And she was essentially saying, I don't like
Right.
that I care that much about
Yes.
that's where my energy is going, that anxious energy or whatever you want to call it for her. And I'm not saying she's diagnosed with anything like that, but this is what it reminds me of, where whenever she has the downtime, she doesn't want to be thinking about like cleaning or doing other things, but having the downtime sometimes will bring up like, all right, I've got to be doing something. And so she ends up doing that. And so
Yes.
it's almost like this.
Oh,
I
it's
don't
a
know.
thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know that every single mental health issue has some kind of corollary like autism does. We know that there's the special thing, that oftentimes people with autism experience. ADHD
Well, and you
sometimes
talk
has
about,
that.
I almost wondered like hypervigilance for you.
That's exactly what I think it is.
I think it's
Yes,
a little bit
I think
more.
what Emma is calling motivation and drive, I think is fundamentally redirected hypervigilance.
Sure.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like the fear of failure is a cause of anxiety. The fear of like failing my family is a cause of anxiety, right? And so like, oh my God, I got to take care of that. Or like the same thing with parenting. Like another big source of anxiety for me is like, is something wrong with my kids? Like, will I have failed them? And so like when I get into that spiral, all of a sudden I am doing way more proactive parenting work than most probably middle-aged men.
Yeah.
And I'm like doing everything, like going through my kids' upcoming high school course catalog and like thinking ahead, like, okay, which programs would he address? Which ones do he like? I should highlight these and show them to him later. What clubs are in the school? I should help him find those. Like, okay, and like proactively. And then, yeah, now my kid like fucking rocks at electric guitar because like I snapped a few years ago and was like, he needs to learn an instrument. That'd be good for him. Like, I'm going to research how to get him into that and like put a lot of effort into it and bought him a fucking guitar and like taught him how to play. Like, now he can fucking play. And like, so there's a positive corollary with it sometimes, but also
For now.
hypervigilance like Emma can also get you in trouble where Emma's like, I allowed myself to be abused and like put myself in really unhealthy situations that were completely out of balance. I 100% do that shit too. I have 3 jobs now. So, that happens.
Yeah.
What's that squeaking sound?
I don't know. I heard it the other day for Ice Cream Social too. They can't hear it on the thing, I don't think.
It's just something you and I can hear.
It's in your head. Speaking of diagnoses,
Yeah.
I like that we have a special thing.
I want to point out.
Also, I don't know what it is, so it doesn't matter if people can hear it or not because I don't know how to get rid of it.
Okay.
There you go.
I also think that for Emma, they didn't mention this, but I think it's important to mention how sometimes when people have something like anxiety or like a level of bipolar disorder, things like that, where you have these spikes in maybe energy. I'm going to say with hypomania, hypermanic is like a totally different realm.
Mania
so
different than,
but I think in that hypomanic range, you may start a medication. And what I've heard from clients is, I started this medication and I feel like I'm not the same person that I was. Like the person I was this person who would go get shit done.
They miss it.
And
they
now they're
miss
like,
the hypomania.
who am I now?
Yeah, they don't have the confidence. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it kind of, that's what I hear in this is almost like that questioning, who am I now?
Yeah.
And what do I think about this new person? How do I interact with my partner, with my friends, with my family? You know?
Interesting point. So I completely relate to what you just said, because in my journey with anxiety, there have been seasons where I've been medicated for it. And when I've been on the medicine long enough for it to settle in and to work, because SSRIs take time. Yeah. That is one of the things I have noticed about myself is like, okay, I will I'll have a slow week or I'll have downtime, and I don't do downtime well at all. Even if it's not even work time. Like if I have downtime, I feel guilty not doing something. So I'll get up and okay, I need to research something or, I don't know, teach something. Or I have all these unfinished PowerPoints that I just make. I have folders and folders of PowerPoints explaining different mental health things in case I ever have a chance.
That is the saddest statement I've ever heard anyone say.
I know. I'm just okay, one day I'll need these.
I have all these unfinished PowerPoints.
Yeah, so many. But yeah, I don't do it well.
This Saturday, I'm going to text him hey, you want to come over do some PowerPoints?
Dude, don't threaten me with a good time.
About golf.
Yeah. Wait a minute, this is a bait and switch. But no, when I was medicated, I remember I would get to a place where I just had downtime or some kind of empty day, and I would just be like, oh wow, I'm fine. I don't need to do anything.
Interesting.
And so I would just kind of let the time pass, or I'd watch a movie.
It had to be weird for you in the moment.
It was very strange. But I relate to those people, especially with hypomania, who are I'm okay. I'm not currently suffering, but I also notably accomplished much less at the end of a month than I would have with my mental illness just being in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely a thing.
Mm-hmm. I've been reading a lot about in sports psychology, and
cool.
you've heard of the flow state.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's kind of that sweet spot of where you've got your skill level and the challenge level are both very high, right? So that's kind of the flow state. Well, when the skill level is lower and the challenge is very high, that space is known as anxiety.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't necessarily think that's what's...
That's a good point.
Over your head.
I don't think that's maybe fitting with what Emma's describing here, but to kind of bring that in case anybody else can kind of relate to this, because I do think that this does happen a lot in sports where you have the challenge that is set before you, either by the league that you're playing in or the competition or the pressure set on you by the coach, whatever it is, that challenge is extremely high.
Right.
The skill level is not there for what the challenge is, and that creates anxiety.
Right.
So it's not necessarily I have anxiety and the anxiety is causing this decrease in driver motivation. Sometimes it's the other way around.
Right.
Where your driver motivation is not going to maintain at that level because no one wants to be in that spot.
Right. No, I think that's really true. There's a correlation for sure. I think there's definitely a correlation.
Yeah. I haven't seen, her question, I haven't personally seen too many clients who deal with anxiety who are I love this high level I'm at,
right. No, you still suffer.
Which,
suffering the whole time.
She pointed out it's not part of the diagnosis. So I think that's valid and important just that she pointed that out. But it is valid. Yeah. Just feeling man, what did you get from having that fire? Oh, I wanted to point out too, just again, as we get older, I think I hear this even amongst my own friends, I don't know how old Emma is, I guess, but talking about things we're interested in our teens when we have sort of time and energy to put into all of that. Right. If you add on that drive, whether it's from anxiety or anything else, that is so powerful. And as adults, we may find ourselves shifting in things we used to put a lot of energy toward. We don't as much anymore.
Right.
And again, it's still a weird feeling. You're questioning who you are. Oh, am I the type of person that I used to be? Is this me, a new me? Is it because of my mental health? Is it because I'm just getting older? I talk about this with friends all the time where you're kind of shifting a little bit, and some of that's just societal norms. You are working, you have horses to take care of.
Well, I mean, you bring up a good point. Like, as you accomplish more, there's less of a void, and I think that also it calms down the hustle.
Yeah.
The hunger makes you hustle. And it's like when you don't have much, you're like, I got to accomplish all this stuff. I'm scared of what's out there.
Yeah.
You swim harder. But when you have a raft, it's like, well, okay, paddle, but you're fine.
Yes, that's a great analogy. I'm bad at analogies. Nick hasn't done any analogies in a while.
I gotta pace myself. I don't want to give everybody good analogies all at once because then I get used to it. Yeah.
We get spoiled.
Yeah. I feel like this is very much like a horse race, Yeah.
How so?
Yeah, go
Sex
on.
mostly. Yeah. I don't know.
You go to good horse races.
I do. Yeah.
Jim goes with all the best horse
I
races.
go to the National Finals Rodeo and I watch him finish, and it's good. Emma, good question. Everybody should see that movie, Inside Out 2. It's a really good movie. Sponsor of the show, Disney Channel. That would be great.
We know you're listening.
Yeah, I know Disney listens to the show. So as we wrap up the show, I want to remind you can go to patreon.com/therapy. You can get the extended show ad-free a day earlier, as well as enjoy our live chat Discord community, our weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research roundups, and rants. And hey, producer note here. In a second, I'm going to read a new 5-star review we got. But we are officially on YouTube. So
I saw that. I watched through some videos.
Did you?
Well,
so
listen through.
YouTube Music is the app now that replaced Google Podcasts. And so I figured out how to get our stuff uploaded, and I believe by now our entire backlog is uploaded. And
I believe
YouTube,
we've already had an episode taken down.
Yes,
No!
YouTube has been shitting bricks.
Oh.
Like as soon as I uploaded it, it's like, would you like to upload the whole catalog? And I was like, oh, that's very convenient. Excellent. Here you go. And YouTube's like, oh, holy shit, you have a lot of videos or content. We're going to do this in phases, like 20 or 50 a day. It's like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
Every day, our email just gets spammed with YouTube violations.
Can't do that.
And it's just
Can't
going,
say that.
hey, this is not appropriate
Can't
for
do it.
children. Hey, this is not okay. Hey, this is banned in Argentina. Really happened. Yeah, and so they're like, just so you know,
Oh,
this
banned in
episode will
Argentina.
not be allowed to be listened to in Argentina. I don't know. I don't know what we did, but apparently it's illegal.
It was that other horse.
that
episode
one.
that we
yeah,
did.
that makes sense.
It's
Yeah, it
really
was that
funny.
one.
Like, as their AI is transcribing every episode,
my
it's
gosh.
figuring out all the curse words we use and just being like, bing, bing. It's just like the inbox is so filled with violations now.
no.
And it's funny because every time it
Don't
happens,
fuck the horse in Argentina.
it may be illegal. I don't know. I mean, but anyway, we're there. So YouTube, you can find us on YouTube at PodTherapyGuys. That's still the handle over there too. And we are now posting all of our stuff regularly there. So if you're more the type that, for whatever reason, you want to listen through that platform, go for it. A lot of new listeners apparently are finding us on there. And I think it's just people are randomly going through and searching for, mental health content, and now they're stumbling upon this. And we're getting a lot of comments. And it's frustrating because the comments are definitely people who have not listened to much of the show. And so they're just like quickly picking up on that one, because I think YouTube is a lot more searchable. And so I think you can find the precise area of the show that we're answering a question you were interested in or something. Because the thing actually slices every episode into chapters.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very interesting. But that I think is my worst nightmare being realized, that there are people getting to zoom in on terrible things and do not make friends with us first. Like, are not going through the car wash of getting
That's your
to us.
anxiety talking, Jim.
Yeah, no, it's on fire. It has been really bad. But at least our iTunes is going up. We are, as I record this, at 98 reviews. We are 2 away from the golden 100.
2 more.
And
Mom,
our
go leave a review.
latest one, get on there. Our latest one from Forgetful Parker wrote, "Great show. Nick, Jim, Whitney, and Jacob are awesome. The attributes of the show are informative and funny. It's a veritable reservoir of information."
Oh, he almost did it. He almost did it. Reservoir.
I'll take it. 5 stars. I'll read whatever you write. We want to thank our Patreons who support the show at patreon.com/therapy. Who's joining the Theraparty, Nick?
We got a new Therapal, Stuart Wilson.
Hey, Stuart. Stuart. Stuart, get down.
Let me do it.
I can do it. What's the one where the guy he acts like a badass boyfriend and the girlfriend's always like, no, stop it, Tim, don't hurt him, and then he's like, you want to go turkey, like he calls everybody a turkey, and then he like tries to fight them and people think like they're really scared of him because he's actually big, and then he fights like Stuart, like he's just really weird. He's and like feather hit. You've never seen this?
I don't
It's
know.
on Mad TV. I don't remember what the guy's name is, but I know he calls people turkey. Anyway.
Sounded like Wanda.
right.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
That whole monologue.
Anyway, we do want to thank the benevolent, revered, generous, and flagrantly pro-therapy diehards who love you all so much they give till it hurts. The Therapartners, thank you, Dirty B and Pickett. Woo. And we want to thank our mysterious, shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, the Theraproducers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Myra, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Smitty Scoop, Ben Dawn, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Mrs. and Mr. Hot Dog Scoop, Malia, Leon Kassab, Mason Miller, Richard fucking Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley, Slap in Your Face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, Mike Helm, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, Slurpy Kai, motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, Hannah Marie, Andrew Langmead, Bug Nuts, and Emma Kane.
And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time we got for this week's session. I want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to Mama Kathy, who joined us today all the way from New Mexico. We do appreciate it. Remember, Pod Therapy isn't something you keep all to yourself. Share the episode with the world. Tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter. It's /PodTherapy on Facebook and at PodTherapyGuys on YouTube. And don't forget about all the extra goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
And do you want to submit a question to the show? You can ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
I'm Jim Jobin.
Thanks, and we'll see you for appointment next week. Wait, that was so inappropriate.
Anything you put in the script.
Why did you do
I'll
that?
read it. I'll read it. I was like, this is different.
Hey, YouTube, cunt.
No. What have
Flags.
you done?
I thought the Argentina one would be cunt wallet.